She said, "Stop acting like we're married. You don't get a say in where I go or who I'm with." Cue the laughter from everyone around. I just smiled and kept my mouth shut. But when she returned from her weekend getaway, her tea didn't work and the neighbor spilled the beans. My girlfriend Jessica and I have a fundamental disagreement about reality. I think if you live in someone's house, eat their food, and use their Wi-Fi, you're in a partnership. Jessica, on the other hand, believes she's a celestial body, and I'm just a tiny, insignificant planet caught in her gravitational pull. We've been together for 2 years, and for the last 6 months, she's been living in my house. My name is on the mortgage, the bills, and even the little plaque by the door that says, "The Wilsons," which she bought without asking me. Talk about optimistic. I'm a pretty chill guy. I enjoy my quiet life, work from home as a graphic designer, and my idea of a wild Friday night is trying a new frozen pizza. Jessica, not so much. Her life is a performance, and her audience is her 3 best friends, whom I privately call the Harpies. Their names? Tiffany, Brittany, and let's just call the third one Chardonnay. Last weekend, while I was making dinner, Jessica waltzed into the kitchen, phone glued to her ear, already dressed to go out. She was in the middle of a loud, one-sided conversation with the Harpies. "Oh my God, yes, I am so in. A weekend away is exactly what I need." "No, he's not coming. Don't be ridiculous." She hung up, beaming. "Good news. The girls and I are going to the lake for the weekend, leaving tomorrow." This was the first I was hearing of it. "Oh, okay," I said, stirring the pasta sauce. "Sounds fun. Which lake are you all heading to?" Jessica looked at me like I just asked her to explain quantum physics in ancient Greek. She let out a short laugh and turned to Tiffany, who had just walked in. "Can you believe him? He wants to know where I'm going." Tiffany scoffed, sizing me up like I was a piece of furniture she was considering tossing out. Then Jessica turned back to me, hands on her hips, and delivered the line that would echo through history. "Stop acting like we're married. You don't get a say in where I go or who I'm with." The Harpies erupted in laughter, thinking it was the peak of comedy. A man in his own home being told he has no right to ask a simple question? Hilarious. I stood there, wooden spoon in hand, pasta sauce dripping onto the floor. I didn't get mad. A strange calm washed over me. The part of my brain trying to make this relationship work just packed its bags and left. I looked at her smug face and smiled back. A big, friendly, completely empty smile. "You know what?" I said, my voice dripping with cheerful agreement. "You are 100% correct. My mistake." They all laughed again, thinking I was backing down. Once Jessica's car, presumably packed with glitter and rosé, disappeared down the street, I sprang into action. My first move? Not packing or cleaning, but a mission of strategic importance. I walked next door to Mrs. Gable, our 80-year-old neighbor with a prize-winning rose garden and a surveillance network that would make the CIA jealous. I brought her a slice of lemon cake and sat on her porch. "Mrs. Gable," I said, after discussing the weather and the neighborhood squirrels, "I have a bit of a situation and I need your help. It involves a small bit of theater." Her eyes lit up. The woman loves drama more than her roses. I explained what had happened, and by the time I finished, she was patting my hand with righteous fury. "That shameless little hussy," she declared. "Don't you worry, Tom. You leave it to me. What's my line?" I gave her a simple script. When Jessica returned and found herself locked out, she was to act confused and deliver a few key pieces of information. Mrs. Gable took to the task with the enthusiasm of a Broadway actress preparing for opening night. With my accomplice secured, I returned home to begin what I called Operation Bachelor Pad Resurrection. My house had been a sea of beige pillows and pointless bowls. It was time to reclaim my territory. I didn't just pack Jessica's things. I curated them. I labeled boxes everyday clothes, fancy clothes for fancy outings I wasn't invited to, and my personal favorite,
Magic sparkly dresses that shed glitter on everything I owned. By Saturday morning, every trace of her existence was boxed up. I hired movers and loaded everything into a storage unit. I paid for 1 month, a generous non-marital gesture, I thought. With the house cleared, the real fun began. I went on a shopping spree. I replaced the beige rug with an AstroTurf rug that looked like a football field. I sold her sterile white couch and bought a gigantic black leather recliner with 16 cup holders. The sad minimalist coffee table, replaced by a vintage pinball machine I found on Craigslist. It didn't work, but it lit up, and that's what mattered. The bedroom was next. I took down the weird macrame thing she had hung over the bed and replaced it with a framed poster of a grizzly bear catching a salmon. It felt right. My final move? I drove to the local animal shelter and came home with a 120-pound St. Bernard puppy named Gus. He immediately claimed the new sofa and fell asleep snoring like a lumberjack. The house was transformed. It was no longer a showroom for a sad beige life. It was a fortress of glorious bachelorhood. I spent the weekend playing fetch with Gus, drinking beer from the bottle, and changing all the passwords. The new Wi-Fi network? Get your own Wi-Fi with the password, not married, LOL.
Sunday night around 9 p.m., my video doorbell sent the notification. There she was, Jessica, looking tan from her weekend at the lake, strolling up to my front door humming. The comedy began almost immediately. She tried her key. It slid into the lock but didn't turn. The new deadbolt was doing its job. She jiggled it, annoyance creeping onto her face. Then she started banging on the door. From the couch, Gus lifted his massive head, let out a deep woof, and went back to sleep. Jessica called my phone. I watched it vibrate on the pinball machine, took a calm sip of my beer, and hit decline. This cycle repeated 5 times. The banging got louder. Tom, open the door. What is wrong with you? My key isn't working. I remained silent. This was all part of the show. After 5 minutes of frantic pounding, she seemed to give up. Then, right on cue, Mrs. Gable appeared next door, holding a watering can. "Oh, Jessica dear, is that you?" she called out, her voice a perfect blend of surprise and concern. "Mrs. Gable, thank God, I can't get in. My key isn't working. Is Tom home?" "Oh, Tom's home," Mrs. Gable said, nodding sagely. "He's had the most wonderful weekend. A real transformation." "Transformation? What are you talking about?" "Well, he told me the good news," Mrs. Gable said, leaning in conspiratorially. "He said you two aren't married, so he decided to celebrate his newfound freedom. He redecorated the whole house. It's the man's home now, very rugged." Jessica just stared, mouth agape.
Mrs. Gable continued, barely containing her glee. "He got a dog, a great big beautiful boy named Gus. He said he wanted a companion who was loyal and didn't talk back. Isn't that sweet?" The look on Jessica's face was masterpiece of disbelief and horror. She slowly turned and peered through my living room window. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene. The football field rug, the pinball machine, and the giant snoring St. Bernard occupying her spot on the new sofa. She let out a sound that was somewhere between a scream and a sob. Whipping out her phone, she started texting me. My phone lit up with a novel's worth of angry, all-caps messages. That's when I decided to respond. I sent her a single, simple text. "You said to stop acting like we're married. You said I don't get a say. I agree. This is my house, and you don't get a say in how I live in it. Since we're not married, I've returned your non-marital property to a secure location. The address is 123 Storage Way, Unit 42. The code is 1234. You have 1 month. Have a great life. Then I blocked her number.
The doorbell camera showed her reading the text. She looked at her phone, then at the window, then back at her phone. Then she let out a scream of pure rage and threw her phone onto my lawn. It was a spectacular meltdown. She ranted and raved for another 10 minutes before Tiffany arrived to pick her up. The next day, the expected social media campaign began. Vague posts about betrayal and strong, independent women. It was pathetic. But I had one more card to play. I made a post on my private social media page, visible only to our mutual friends. It was a photo album. The first picture? My living room from a month ago. Sad beige couch, pointless bowls, the general aura of a dentist's waiting room. Caption? Before. The second picture? My living room now, glorious leather recliner, football field rug, glowing pinball machine, and Gus the St. Bernard sprawled out. Caption? After. The final picture? A selfie of me and Gus on the couch, both looking incredibly happy. Caption? Decided to redecorate based on my new relationship status. It was brought to my attention that I'm not married and don't get a say in things, so I'm embracing my freedom. Hashtag BachelorPad, dog is my co-pilot. No say, no stay. The post was a nuclear bomb. The sheer pettiness combined with Gus's cuteness was a winning combo. My friends found it hilarious. The narrative shifted from psycho boyfriend kicks girlfriend out to girlfriend tells boyfriend their relationship is a joke and is shocked when he believes her. Jessica's friends went silent. It's hard to maintain a victim narrative when the villain is posting adorable pictures with his giant dog. The aftermath for Jessica was rough. She crashed with Tiffany, but that lasted less than a week. I heard Tiffany got tired of Jessica complaining and not contributing to rent. She ended up moving back in with her parents 3 hours away. She did try to come after me legally, sending a letter demanding access to the house to retrieve her wrongfully held property and financial compensation for being made homeless. My lawyer responded with a copy of my mortgage statement and a polite inquiry about whether Jessica would be paying me back for the 6 months of rent, utilities, and food she consumed while living in my home as a non-married person. We never heard from her lawyer again. The funniest part? A month ago, I was at the dog park with Gus when Chardonnay, the third harpy, approached me, looking awkward. "Hey, Tom," she said, "I just wanted to say I'm sorry about that night at your house. We were out of line." I shrugged. Jessica said what she said. I just took her at her word. "Yeah, I know," she said, shaking her head. "She's a lot. She called me last week complaining that her parents are making her get a job. She said it was all your fault for ruining her life." She paused, looking at Gus, who was trying to fit 3 tennis balls in his mouth. "Honestly, it looks like you're doing just fine." And she was right. I am doing just fine. The house is no longer a beige prison. It's my home. The pinball machine still doesn't work, but it's a great conversation piece. And Gus, he's the best roommate I've ever had. Loyal, funny, and never complains about my cooking. I learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a grand scheme. It's just listening to what people say and believing them. Jessica told me exactly who she was and what our relationship meant to her. I just decided to agree with her. She said I didn't get a say. And now in her life, I truly don't. And in my life, she doesn't either. And that, combined with a giant drooling dog, is a pretty happy ending.